Welcome to Energy Frontier, the Wyoming Landscape podcast, hosted by Dr. Erin Phillips, Director of Cross-Cutting Programs and Acting Senior Director of Research at the University of Wyoming School of Energy Resources. The show highlights SER's role in supporting our mission to promote energy-driven economic development in the state of Wyoming.
Welcome back to Energy Frontier, the Wyoming Landscape. I'm your host, and today we're diving into the vital role that graduate research plays in Wyoming's energy future. While many of our listeners are familiar with the School of Energy Resources undergraduate academic programs, a large part of our mission is accomplished by funding high-level graduate research in departments across the University of Wyoming campus. Joining us today to share his journey from Laramie to the Silicon Valley is Dr. Peng Li. Dr. Li is currently a postdoctoral researcher at Stanford University, but his roots in energy innovation began right here at the University of Wyoming. As a former SER-funded graduate student, his work helped bridge the gap between academic theory and the practical energy challenges facing our state. So Peng, it's great to have you back here in Laramie. We'll go ahead and get started by asking you to introduce yourself and give our listeners a little background about you, where you're from, what you studied, and about your journey to your current role.
Thank you, Erin. So it's a true pleasure to be back in Laramie and to have a conversation with you. So my name is Peng Li. Now I'm a postdoc scholar at the Department of Earth and Planetary Science at Stanford University. So I came from China, so I came to U.S. to pursue my graduate study at the University of Wyoming. My major is geophysics, so especially I do seismic and rock physics inversion. And so during my time at UW, I was fortunate to be supported by SER. So this time really allows me to work on the research that connects the fundamental science with real-world challenges. Right now, my current role is I'm focusing on critical minerals and like decision-making agents. This works for planning, optimization, combines AI, geophysics, and other methods. And I think this is an interesting direction.
Yeah, definitely interesting times for those topics. And it's great to have a fellow University of Wyoming Geology and Geophysics Department alumni here with us on the podcast. So like I've said, many of our listeners are familiar with our undergraduate programs, but you were part of the graduate student cohort here. Will you talk a little bit more about the department that you were housed in at UW and how your graduate research was funded by the School of Energy Resources?
Yeah, sure. So I was in the Department of Geology and Geophysics during my time at UW. So here my core research was seismic inversion, seismic petrophysical inversion, but I approach it through the lens of machine learning. So we combine machine learning method like physics-informed neural networks, and then with the traditional inverse method. So we try to combine pure data and governing equation together for better predictions. So I think this direction fits well with some SER projects, such as CCUS projects, like the Carbon Safe project. I want to show how machine learning could solve actual problems, not theory, just actual problems in Wyoming. So the support from SER allows me to bridge this gap between pure algorithms and real case study.
Yeah, so really using machine learning for applied energy-related projects, it's really, really important. So SER does fund students in departments like geology, where you were, engineering and chemistry. And so these are really energy-focused funding streams. And how did that influence your research while you were here, as opposed to being on a traditional department assistantship?
Yeah, so I think this is a huge motivation for me because, of course, I have a deep respect for pure academic research, but I always want my work to directly relate to the real-world challenge, especially in our energy sectors. So being funded by SER means that we are not just working on perfect or synthetic data set. We will deal with real case data set from right here in Wyoming. So that's something incredibly good for me. And I think one more thing is that working here, you can actually go outside and see the site. You can track your change, and you can also get immediate feedbacks whether your method or your workflow works or not. So this is, I think this is a good advantage working with SCR.
Yeah, so some real on-the-ground experiences, right, which is, really important as well. How about other specific resources that you had access to or networking opportunities as an SCR-funded graduate student that helped shape your career?
Mm-hmm. For me, I think the resources start right inside the SCR buildings. So we have experts from different domains. We have geologists, we have engineering, we have even energy policy experts. So I have this, I think I have this incredible in-house resources. And if I have a question, I can directly walk down the hall and get an answer from someone in their expert domain. So the other side, I think, is that SCR provides me some good opportunities to take my work to the top-tier international conferences. So I think this experience is a huge part of my graduate pipeline. I think it shows to the global community that our work are cutting edge. Also, this makes me feel very prepared in the transition to my current role at Stanford.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so lots of great networking opportunities there too. So from a student's perspective, for any of the students that may be listening, why is it vital for Wyoming to fund graduate level energy research in addition to our undergraduate instruction?
Yeah, so from a student perspective, I think undergrads are more focused on learning foundations. Like for graduate students, they are not just a learner. They are highly trained, and most of them are self-motivated. So I think when SCR funded students, these graduate students, they are not just starting from scratch. You are talking with someone who already have a deep technical skill set, and if you have a mission, they will do it very well. So I think the key is for students, they need to find the connections between their specific research passion and the SCR project like CCUS, like me. So I think the result would be incredible. It will be a win-win solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So undergraduate and graduate education, just both, the way that I see it is they're both essential pieces to the puzzle of preparing our workforce for new and emerging energy technologies. All right, so Peng, your time at the University of Wyoming was defined by your work in the Rock Physics and Reservoir Modeling Group under the guidance of Dr. Dario Grana, who was actually recently a guest on the podcast.
Oh.
Yeah. And what are some of the important lessons, either technical or professional, that you took away from your years working in Dario's research group?
It was a great experience for me to work with him, and even I think it also for my life. So I think if I have to narrow down one major lesson, I would see the importance of scientific integrity and technical rigor. So I think Dario, he has a very strong mathematics background. So and to be honest, math was a challenge for me when I started. So, but he gave me a fundamental training in math and algorithms that changed everything, I think. Also, I learned a role during working with him, and I think this will shape my future career also. That is, if you don't lie to math won't lie to you. True. So
I like that.
Yeah. So because of this training, I think I feel super easy when I learn something else, something new, like new AI agent, decision-making agent. It's just another type of math. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a most important lesson I learned from him.
Just having that really solid base that you can apply to many different things.
Right.
Great. So you co-authored several papers with Dr. Grana and other UW researchers as well. How did that culture of collaboration across different subdisciplines, geophysics, hydrology, shape your approach to science?
I truly believe that multidisciplinary cooperation is no longer just an option. I think it is the right way forward. I think the challenge right now, especially in the energy field, like energy security, climate change, energy transition, they are far too complex for any single one to solve it. So to be efficient, you need, for me, I think we need to acknowledge the strengths of other experts and treat the collaboration as your tool in our professional toolkits. So I think one good thing for me is that at UW, I learned this skill early. So I realized that if I want for example, if I want my machine learning models to be truly impactful, I need to listen to other experts like geologists' perspective, reservoir engineering suggestions. So I think it's about being humble enough to know what you don't know and bring the right expert to fill that gap.
I like that, being humble enough to know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I found this interesting. Dr. Grana himself earned his PhD at Stanford. So did having an advisor with that shared connection help you navigate your transition to being a postdoc at Stanford?
It absolutely did. I mean, having an advisor who not only understands the technical rigor required at Stanford, but also he actually walk in the same buildings as me right now. I think this is a huge advantage. Dario didn't just treat me like a good researcher. He treated me to meet the standards of the world top institutions. So I think because he earned his PhD there, he know exactly what the expectations would be in terms of math or innovation. So I think by working with him, I was prepared for the transition, and he was able to give me more than just a recommendation. He gave me what would be the roadmap for you to do that better in Stanford. Okay. Also beyond that, I think another important part is the mindset. So I think Dario treats research like he's a level of passion and discipline that is very much similar at Stanford culture. So when I arrived to that new department, I didn't feel like I need to start over. I just it's an extension of my previous work at Laramie. So it made my transition feels like, okay, just a smooth transition and a smooth next step. So I think that's what Dario provided for me.
Yeah, it sounds hugely helpful in transitioning to a new place. So let's turn to your work at Stanford. Will you talk a little bit more about the primary focus of your current work there?
Now I'm working on critical minerals, which are very important to national security, energy transition, AI infrastructures right now. What I do is not just how to do mineral explorations, but I want to combine the state-of-the-art AI methods like decision agents. It's kind of like the AlphaGo, like in the previous years. Now we want to implement the same idea to critical mineral exploration. The goal is to help people, help our experts, help our companies to make smart and rational decisions related to exploration plans. So, for example, if you want to drill a borehole, that would cost a lot of money. How to make it maximize the information for these steps. That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay. Yeah, definitely some cutting edge research. Okay. So to dive a little bit deeper into your work at Stanford, much of your recent work involves Bayesian neural networks and physics informed machine learning. So AI is clearly a hot topic right now. For our listeners who aren't data scientists, how are you using these AI tools to help us find energy resources or store carbon more effectively?
I think one of the biggest risk when using neural networks is that they are designed to give you optimal solutions, but sometimes they are overconfident. So in a complex field like energy, if you provide I'm 100% sure that there's a ore body beneath the earth, that's not reliable. There's a lot of uncertainty beneath that. So that's why I use Bayesian neural networks. So they don't just give you a precise prediction, they also give you the uncertainties behind that prediction. So when you use that as your decision evidence, you can use the uncertainty as part of your data and think about the level of probability of our model. For physics-informed neural networks, I think this is an extension for the Bayesian neural networks. It's kind of like a physics AI category. We are constraining AI using the governing equations, the physics we already know. That's right. And then in the energy sector, where the subsurface is incredibly complex and the data is expensive to collect, we need both. Not only the data set, but also the physics behind that. So that's why we use physics-informed neural networks.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So let's compare and contrast Wyoming and Stanford a little bit. As we know, Wyoming is a large energy producer. Stanford is a hub for high-tech innovation. How do those two perspectives, kind of the field versus the lab, inform the way that you look at energy challenges?
So I see these two not as two different worlds, but two parts of the same engine. So I think Wyoming is like the origin. Why? Because in Wyoming, you are dealing with the raw, real case data set of the Earth. You can run like a beautiful theory. Doesn't matter if it cannot handle the complex data in the real world. So I think Wyoming taught me any solution need to be built that they are practical. So for Stanford, I think they are more like a toolbox. Like it's a place where we can take those real-world challenge and apply to the most advantaged computers, the computing resources available. So that's why we design the decision agents and physics AI there. But if we want to solve today's energy challenge, we need both, not only the field, but also the lab. And my goal is to use both, and ensure we are making the smartest, safest decision for the future energy.
Great. Sounds like the two perspectives really do complement each other.
Yes.
Well, let's look to the future a little bit. Based on your current work, how is the research coming out of Wyoming, and SER specifically, perceived in the broader national energy landscape?
I think people in California look at Wyoming as like a real-world test lab. Like at a place like Stanford, we have a lot of big ideas, smart people, high technical tools. But Wyoming is where those ideas actually have to work. Whether it's CCUS or critical minerals, I think Wyoming is doing the heavy lifting. So when I taught my colleagues that at Stanford that my SER background, Wyoming background, they don't just see it as a school project. This is as a real engine. If you ask me, like, what's your perspective from your work experience at Wyoming? So I think this is a get it done reputation given from Wyoming, and this experience gave me a huge amount of respect. on the national stage.
Great. Well, we're happy that we have collaborators out in California that we get to continue to work with. So what's the most exciting breakthrough on the horizon in your field that you think Wyoming stakeholders should be keeping an eye on?
I think critical minerals and decision agents, AI agents. So I truly believe that Wyoming should be an important player in the national strategy for critical mineral exploration. We often talk about energy transition, but you can't have a transition without a raw material. So I think Wyoming have the unique geological advantage, like from rare earth elements in the northeast to the potential lithium critical minerals across the state. We have the inventory that all of the world are looking for. I think the challenge is how to fund them efficiently. So that's why the AI decisions is going to be a new option.
Yeah, definitely. And we're glad that you are working on that decision-making process. So back to a little bit of advice for current or prospective students. What would you say to those students who are considering an SER-funded research path?
So to the students who is considering this path, I would say do it.
Right.
So I think SER doesn't just fund a degree, they fund a mission. So what makes a SER-funded path special is that you are not just working on theories, you are working on real problems that actually matters to the people of Wyoming and the nation. So it's like my project, like carbon safe projects or hydrology or critical minerals. So my advice is that to embrace this advantage in SER, also embrace the multidisciplinary culture in learning. So do not just stay in the lab, talk to the engineers, talk to the experts, and I think SER provides the perfect toolbox.
All right. Well, Peng, it's been so great to catch up with you, and it's really rewarding to see a UW alum taking the skills that you developed here and applying them at a place like Stanford. So as a final question, you've traded the high plains and the snowy range for the palm trees and the red tiles of Stanford. What is your favorite thing about Wyoming, or the thing that you miss the most?
To be honest, I miss Wyoming snow and the cowboy spirit more. Yeah.
All right.
So we don't have so many snows in Palo Alto, but the snow is, I think, it's so beautiful here. We always try to have a vacation here with families and still enjoy the environment here. So yeah.
All right. Well, I hope that there are many more winter visits to Wyoming for you and your family. And thanks again, Peng. And thank you to our listeners. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Energy Frontier, the Wyoming Landscape, the podcast that highlights the School of Energy Resources at the University of Wyoming. You can expect a new episode of Energy Frontier every other Wednesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. See you next time.